Hi, friends. This is Gary Nassif in Las Vegas, and I want to talk about my book, Stop Crying and Listen to the Music. It's the story of my life, the heroic story of my life. It's about overcoming adversity to make your dreams come true, and many of them been have come to fruition, and I'm very proud of that fact. But I've got more, and my CD, which was recorded with Steve Haberman, my Hollywood musical director, a fabulous pianist and conductor, and I recorded also with Frank Sinatra's pianist conductor Vincent Falcone. I worked with him in Las Vegas for 8 years in all venues, and he was my triumphant maestro. He loved everything I did, and I kept asking him for criticism. He said, "Gary, no criticism." And I said, "Oh, wow, coming from you, it means a lot." Anyway, I'm not going to talk about my book or my CD. I'm going to talk about a very famous movie star who I used to see in the movies, and he was wonderful. He had a 7-decade career in movies. I think he was the most, he made the most movies of all stars, I think 130. Anyway, Cesar became a fan of mine. I can't believe I'm saying that, but he was. He was not only a friend, but a fan. And he never missed my shows. He came to see me with Sybil Brand, a very famous socialite in Los Angeles, who I'm told was bigger with all the golden movie stars than L.B. Mayer. And Sybil, came with Caesar to see me in all the nightclubs and all the venues I performed in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, and I'm so honored that they did. Now, when Caesar didn't come in with Sybil Brand, he came in with his lady friends, and they're all lovely. But he was my big fan, and I want you to know about him. I was at many dinner parties with him, hosted by Mrs. Harold Robbins, Grace Robbins, Sybil Brand, many times. And I know Caesar as a highly respectable gentleman, great artist and movie star, and classic, a very classic friend. That's what he was. He was a wonderful friend, and he was so down to earth. But he was honorable and kind, and he spent his last Christmas at my house in Sherman Oaks celebrating my mother's Christmas visit from Iowa. And Mom was excited, very excited, for him to be in my home with Sybil. We had such a wonderful time. And at the end of the evening, he didn't want to go home. He did not want to go home. And I asked him if he would make a Christmas video recording, and he did. He did. He talked about his family. He talked about his responsibility of taking care of his family, and they lived with him, and he was very responsible. And he just, I can't tell you the adjectives that define him. They're all so wonderful. and so honorable and so kind. He was just wonderful. I loved him. So he made this video at my home, and it was very sad. It made people cry. It made me cry. And he talked about the years past, but he said, today I have no one. And we felt bad about that. And then he said, but I have all of you here with me, making my Christmas something wonderful. And he concluded by singing Christmas carols with all of us. And he did not want to leave. And he was the last one to leave. And when he saw Esther Williams' photograph on my dresser, he picked up the sheet music and he said, sing this with me. And it was called It Had to Be You. And Cesar and I sang It Had to Be You all the way to the elevator. And when we got to the elevator, he looked at me and he said, Gary, thank you for a beautiful evening. It was like being with family. And I thank you so very much. And I said, Cesar, you are one in a million. You are such a wonderful friend and an honor to the movie industry. And then he said something that I've never heard before. And he looked at me and he said, Gary, you are a very sweet man. And Sybil was listening. And I thought that was a wonderful compliment. Unfortunately, 3 weeks later, he was in the hospital and passed away. I remember him. I remember all the parties, all the dinners, all the shows that he saw me do, and all the compliments he gave me. I remember all of that. And I want to tell you how important he was to me as a human being. He was like a grandfather figure to me. Oh, he was just wonderful and fun. I asked him one night at a dinner party that Sybil gave for Martha Ray at a place called Jimmy's in Century City. I said, during dinner, I said, Cesar, with all of your history, do you have some stories to tell us? And he said, Gary, I don't tell stories, but I tell jokes. And he told me some jokes that were so funny, and we all laughed. It was wonderful. I'll never forget Cesar Romero. He was like a grandfather to me. And he was classy. He was impeccably dressed every time I saw him. And, I have wonderful memories. And they're in my book, too. I talk about him in my book. And I tell you about the Christmas dinner party that I had, that he was the head of the table, because I told him, I said, you are the father figure for my dinner party. And he was so happy. Mom loved him. Oh, she said, he's my favorite movie star. And so anyway, Cesar and Sybil were always at my concerts, always. And I thank them. I miss them. I miss them terribly, but I have great memories. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't tell you anymore. There's so much more to tell, but remember what I'm saying about the great and wonderful movie star Cesar Romero.